Their stars shone brightly in the green and gold here just 3 nights ago. Now can they haul the victory back into finals contention? Their opponents are in the same race, clinging to 6th spot, and one Jet in particular is hoping for a far better outing than last time. It's Melbourne Victory and Newcastle Jets, and it's live on Fox Sports. Well, has there been a more important game for Melbourne Victory since their last grand final? All the pre-season hope and hype has turned into hubris, but they have one final window of opportunity before the finals door is slammed shut. The Jets have endured similar turbulence, but are now in clearer air and probably come into this one as marginal favourites. It is a massive afternoon in Melbourne, a day for strong hearts and even stronger minds. Here's the team news. Melbourne Victory naming an unchanged starting 11, despite Jim Magilton hinting he may leave Harry Kewell out after his international exertions during the week. Instead, he hands him the captaincy in place of the injured Adrian Leia. Fellow Socceroos Mark Milligan and Archie Thompson also start. Thompson requiring just one more goal for his 100th at National League level. He impressed off the bench for Australia at this venue on Wednesday. Now, one change for the Jets. Jeremy Brockie, their top scorer, is left on the bench after his midweek international duties in New Zealand, where he played 90 minutes in the 3-2 loss to Jamaica. So Franny Jeffers moves up to the point of attack, with captain Jobe Wheelhouse restored to the midfield after missing the last 2 matches with a groin injury. Ryan Griffiths has enjoyed playing Melbourne teams this season. 6 of his 8 goals have been against the 2 Melbourne clubs. Well, it is a wet and wintry day in many parts of the country. No difference here. In fact, the Victory coach, Jim Magilton, told me beforehand it feels like home for him. And it is one of the oddest stats in the A-League this season that Melbourne Victory are the only team yet to have their colours lowered at home, despite sitting 8th on the ladder. Newcastle, for their parts, haven't defeated the Victory in Melbourne in over 4 years, but they have won 4 of their last 5. Wasn't pretty against Adelaide, that's for sure, last weekend, and it may not be again today, with performance coming secondary to points. So here they come, Melbourne Victory against the Newcastle Jets. It is another vital day in the race for the finals in a very soggy Melbourne. The pitch is going to be fairly heavy, it must be said too. There was a rugby union game here last night, of course the international during the week, and there's even been a charity game played here beforehand as well. Harry Kewell wearing the captain's armband. Can he lead Melbourne Victory to success? They simply must win today. It's the Victory against Newcastle Jets. Kick-off coming right up. Don't go away. Well, it was monsoonal weather for the Victory on the Gold Coast last weekend, and it's pretty much the same here again today. The sombre skies perhaps indicative of the seriousness of Victory's situation. Current temperature 16 degrees, and as you can see from our pictures, very, very wet. Well, Jim Magilton insists the Victory are still right in the mix for the finals. I wonder how many of the Victory fans share that optimism. They are leaving their late run, if it's coming at all, as late as humanly possible. Gary Van Egmond breathing a little easier in 6th spot at the start of the weekend, but they too are by no means assured of a finals berth. But if they can negotiate today, they have 2 home games to come in their final 3 matches. Referee today, Jared Gillett, his 34th A-League appointment, assisted by Sean Evans and George Lacrindis. Lucian Lavador is the 4th official. 2 men in form at the moment. Harry Kewell, a goal for the Socceroos here on Wednesday. Took him to 6 in his last 8 matches. And Franny Jeffers of the Newcastle Jets showing last weekend he can create goals as well as score them, setting up Tariq Elridge for the winner against the Reds. And Jeffers, by the way, up against his old Ipswich Town boss today, Jim Magilton. So away we go in Melbourne. It is Judgment Day for Melbourne Victory. No more excuses, no more time. It is Andy Harper. Simply win or bust this afternoon.
Isn't it what, Simon? Don't you just love games like this with so much riding on them, so much work in the pre-season, so much work in the season, and to get to this stage where now you have to fight for your life. Melbourne Victory, we're going to learn a lot about them as a football club tonight. We know about Newcastle Jets, how much they enjoy playing Melbourne Victory.
Helped over the top by Kewell, and Archie Thompson's pace causing a problem. Oh, it was awkward for Kennedy, and it certainly struck the arm, but perhaps viewed as unintentional. Otherwise, there would have been a free kick for a pass back.
Yeah, there sure would have been. Nervous start, the ball skidding across the grass. It's going to be a feature of the game. Newcastle, two of their better performances this season, they've had a few, have come against the Victory. It was a telling home win against Melbourne, and then even though they lost 2-1 here, last time they played it was against 10 men, and those 2 own goals by Bjorn.
Kewell's cross, just evading both Thompson and Rojas, gets the thumbs up from the New Zealander. Harry Kewell, bit of kidology perhaps this week in the media from Jim Magilton saying he wasn't going to start. Harps or not?
Possibly. I mean, you'd have to take into consideration Harry's physical readiness. It has been one of the major talking points around him all season, but he's looking really, really good at the moment. His football's been top-notch, I'd say, for the last 2.5, 3 months after a slowish start, and physically is getting better and better, so it's enormously encouraging to see him ready to play and captaining the side here this evening.
That's too high for Fashini, who's just been away with the Olyroos. Players on international duty all over the place at the moment. Talked about Jeremy Brockie being left on the bench today for Newcastle. Of course, Marco Rojas was involved in that as well, the Melbourne Victory winger, but he starts today. Interestingly, starting here on the left flank, at least in the early stages, with Kewell on the opposite side, where, of course, he loves to cut in. So there's James Jago, who's made a spot in midfield his own in recent weeks. Three youngsters combining, Fashini, Jago and Franjic. Franjic going over the top where Archie Thompson is caught offside for the 38th time this season. Most call-back player in the competition. That's the way he plays, Harps, right on the shoulder.
And for the most part, it's worked over the 9 or 7 years completed of the A-League. Caught offside a number of times, but equally, remains he's been lethal, and those breakaway goals that he's scored from hugging the shoulder of defenders has worked for him.
And Kennedy's clearance, he's had one nervous moment from the back pass. Awkward surface with all the rain around, particularly for goalkeepers. Kewell stepping away from Bjorn, feeding Hernandez. Kewell, Hernandez and Thompson have contributed 22. Melbourne Victory's 29 goals this season. Zadkovic forced back by Rojas. Kewell. In the back there as well from Bjorn, and spotted by Jared Gillett. Free kick. Bjorn, who doesn't really have happy memories of this ground, does he, after those 2 own goals earlier on in the season? In fact, it's strange how Melbourne has featured so prominently in Bjorn's A-League career. Grand final winner from the penalty spot. Of course, he was also sent off at this venue last season against Melbourne Heart, while playing for Sydney FC. Ball striking the arm of Griffiths, again, not intentional. Says Carlos Hernandez. Sheeny back for Franjic. Cut out by Kantarovski. Really, it's been a low-key start, the opening 5 minutes. Half's not quite what we're used to with Melbourne victory.
No, exactly. Leopards do change their spots. There have been a series of games involving the victory where there's already been a major incident or two in the first couple of minutes, that 5.5. It's been a solid, steady approach by the victory.
Talking of solid, what about that challenge by Jago on Griffiths? And well, there's all sorts of push and shove going on. Kantarovski getting involved with Milligan. Lozado lending his tall frame to proceedings too. Griffiths not happy with that tackle from Jago and letting him know about it.
No, you can understand that. The game was already dead, and then a pile of players deciding to make it their business as well. So the first 5 minutes without incident, but just a matter of seconds later.
Passions running high, and Harry Kewell, the victory captain for the day, just called across. Jared Gillett tells him to calm his side down. Joe Wheelhouse getting the point of view as well from Newcastle's perspective. Hernandez lifting it over the top, a familiar tactic by Melbourne victory, but Thompson latching onto it this time. Hernandez. Touched by Fashini. Kewell. Marco Rojas just slightly on his heels, not anticipating.
It was a nothing ball really though from Harry Kewell. The direction wasn't great. The flight of it was lofted in. Very little doubt that if Ben Kennedy needed to, he would come and pluck that without much trouble at all.
Chested down by Griffiths. Milligan doing the screening role to good effect, nipping it ahead of Jacob Pepper. Thiago. Griffiths not even bothering to run for that one. More words to be said by Jared Gillett. Malicious or mistimed.
The latter. I interpret this discussion between ref and player not so much about this incident in itself, but trying to get on top of the player mentality at the moment because it's such a greasy playing surface. I just second guess the referee at the moment and think he's wanting to get on top of the player's temperament right from the start. I don't think that was a terribly bad one from Tarek Elridge in itself.
Kewell for Thompson. He's a slippery customer, or can be. It's Topor Stanley. Nice and steady. An exchange a joke, the two of them afterwards as well. Well, still just the one win for Jim Magilton in 8 matches. And of course, this being the A-League, it was against the league leaders. A real topsy-turvy competition for a lot of clubs this campaign. Here's Rojas looking to use his speed to get beyond Zadkovic, who kept pace with him.
Very well, very well. Good run. Marco Rojas has been given an extended chance at a starting berth. Such a bright young talent, but he hasn't been overly consistent so far this season, and that goes with the age of a player. Sometimes that was a good positive burst, taking on a really fleet of foot Ruben Zadkovic, winning the corner.
Victory yet to score from a corner this season. The only club in the A-League with that statistic against their name. Rojas. Back it comes for Hernandez. cries of shoot from the crowd. He does shoot, and Ben Kennedy, well, it was like a bar of soap for the Newcastle Jets goalkeeper. He's escaped embarrassment by conceding the corner, but only just.
And part of this attack, the beauty of the Melbourne Victory midfield, you've got Hernandez who can shoot on one side of the field, and the crowd was asking him to do just that. But he spread the ball beautifully to the other danger man from distance, and that's Harry Kewell. And it is going to split the attention of the Newcastle defenders.
Corner work short. They're looking to get Thompson in behind. Now Milligan has taken it off the toe of Tarek Elridge. More problems for the Jets. Held up by Topo Stanley. Back for Jego. Milligan again. Yet Topo Stanley gets in the way. Good defending for Sheeny. Decent pressure being exerted by Melbourne Victory. Hernandez. Well, at least up until that moment.
Well, they've had all the play so far at Melbourne Victory. Good contact there, Harry Kewell, and nearly sneaking under Ben Kennedy, who would have been devastated had that gone in. His goal, he had it completely covered.
He's in the zone, though, at the moment, isn't he, Kewell? Not just his goals, but I sense he's right on top of his game. Hernandez. Kewell. Hernandez onside. Thompson waits. Slip by Thiago. And Rojas with a really good chance, but puts it over the bar.
And Thiago hasn't regained his feet either, Simon. Sure if he twisted a knee or an ankle. He's a bit dizzy by the looks of things. Great run from Carlos Hernandez. Thiago in fact played the Costa Rican on, and then no player. Archie Thompson couldn't stop, the defender couldn't stop, Jimmy Jego couldn't get onto the ball, and ultimately Marco Rojas couldn't control his shot. Best chance of the match comes to nothing.
I think Thiago whacked his head on the deck.
In slipping over, there was that whiplash action when his head banged against the turf. Here she goes. Never pleasant. Anyone who's experienced that will know the fuzz that's engulfing him at the moment. Very unpleasant. But great chance for the victory. Rojas needed to nail that one. He didn't look at all convincing.
And Thiago looks to be okay, but he really banged his head like a snooker ball coming back off the cushion. He'll be okay. He is a central defender after all, Hobbs. You're staying out of that one, are you? The ex-striker.
Put it this way, I'd be more worried about the turf.
It was worth waiting for. Here's Jeffers. Stanley, cut out by Kewell. Here come Melbourne again. Thompson, first touch just behind him. Tries to chip it into the space where Jego was making a burst through. Just the first touch from Kewell stopped his momentum. And it comes towards Rojas. Up in the air by Thiago, and then Topo Stanley tidying things up for the Jets. Zatkovic. Booting a little bit there, Zatkovic. Melbourne Victory bench up immediately.
Former youth teammate, Sydney FC teammates, Zatkovic within his rights to go for the ball. That's why Milligan straight away acknowledged, even if the Melbourne Victory bench leapt to their feet, protesting. Milligan, that's the second or third time he's executed his role perfectly. Screening midfielder's role is providing excellent coverage. In fact, he's one of the reasons so far, Simon, why Newcastle are finding it difficult to get into the victory half. Milligan snuffed out everything.
For Sheeny down the line. Kewell up against Buin. Cover provided by Pepper. Does a good job in that screening midfield role, Jacob Pepper, only new to the A-League, but he's really impressed in his 19 outings so far. He's just signed a new contract as well, following Taylor Regan. Good to see the Jets signing up the local boys.
Yeah, well, that's one of the basic tenets of Newcastle Jets now that they're part of the Hunter Sports Group. But I concur completely with your comments about Jacob Pepe. He's one of 3 or 4 really good young'uns coming through in that central midfield position. Jimmy Jeggo, his opposite number or opposite position, is another case in point.
Clear foul by Kewell. Jove Wheelhouse. Looking for Elridge, who's barely been involved so far. Milligan. Intercepted by Kantarovski. Milligan continuing his run. Good calm play by Topple Stanley in particular.
Really enjoying the opening 16 minutes. The display put on by both teams. Very composed. Melbourne victory of basically had the run of things so far. That's a shanked clearance too, which is going to offer an opportunity, a really good opportunity for Newcastle Jets. But otherwise, the approach and outlook from both teams have been very composed, determined to keep possession of the ball and work for an angle and opening.
First corner for Gary Van Egmont's side. Travelling supporters gathered in the opposite corner to where Bjorn's going to deliver this one. There they are. Bjorn in towards the near post. Combining. Great feat by the Costa Rican. A good tackle back by Zadkovic. To be fair, I thought he got the ball there, but I think Jared Gillett's going to issue a yellow card. Maybe you saw it differently.
No, I'm with you. And
that's a good tackle, isn't it?
It might be a free kick because he's come slightly from behind, but I can't see a yellow card in it, really. Hernandez did ever so well to wriggle clear in the first place, but then couldn't get the ball away as he wanted, and Thompson was poised. There was an opportunity for a defence-splitting pass from Hernandez, and before he knew it, Zadkovic was there. I thought fairly enough.
Well, that's a strange one, and Gary Van Egmond is perhaps right to be aggrieved because it is Zadkovic's 8th yellow of the season. That means he'll get a ban. Doesn't look too happy, does he? And, known to everyone as Dutchy. That expensive suit's going to get a bit wet today as well, I think. Bjorn and Kewell involved in a verbal altercation. Bjorn's English is not that brilliant, but it's as though he got his point across. Who's at fault there, Hans?
There was a tangle. It's hard to say. Harry Kewell probably invited the first contact by backing in.
Jeffers, good vision to pick out Zadkovic. Jeffers comes short. Zadkovic will go across field towards Elridge. Great ball in. Ryan Griffiths. That is a brilliant goal by Newcastle. And Ryan Griffiths continues his spree against the Melbourne clubs. He's scored in every game this season against Melbourne Victory now, and the Jets have the advantage after 20 minutes. And it was beautifully worked.
Well, it was a goal rather simple in construction, but beautiful in execution. It's direct, it's a fizzer. that pass from Ruben Zatkovic, and the key moment was the composure of Tara Kelrich right here, cushioned to perfection, and then too much speed and too much anticipation, Ryan Griffiths, and just dinking it nicely over the advancing Ante Kovic. And it's been all Melbourne without them bombarding the Newcastle goal necessarily, but they've had most of the football, and now they find themselves chasing the game.
Well, what an excellent goal that was. Franny Jeffers with that delightful ball on halfway to release Ruben Zatkovic. Zatkovic picking out Elrich, cushion header, bang, in the back of the net. Super football. Melbourne Victory have got a problem. Here's Matt Kemp. Barely sighted going forward, the left fullback. Find the delivery, it's a good one, and again a little slip by Kennedy, but he recovered well enough to make the punch. It's looked a little uncertain, the Jets goalkeeper, in these conditions. More pressure now for the Jets as they try and defend their lead. And this tumbles over, and Jared Gillett says that's a foul. The linesman flagged too. Probably fair enough too.
Well, the ref and the assistant can go nowhere. He didn't try to make contact, Top or Stanley, but Carlos Hernandez had nowhere to go.
Jets' 7th foul of the game. Ruben Zatkovic already in the book, but they lead through Ryan Griffiths. Hernandez, well, pretty rotten delivery from the Costa Rican. Back in by Fashini, down goes Lozano, and Jared Gillett says that's a penalty. Lozano, who gave away a penalty against Brisbane Roar a couple of weeks ago, now earns one for his team.
Thiago's the man who's been pinged for a shirt pull. The replay will be instructive. Fashini lobs the ball. Thiago jumps at the man. I don't think that's an unfair call. Thiago Calvano, you can see he's got eyes for the defender. He's got a handful of his shoulder as well. It's a very good decision. Fair penalty. Harry Kewell, for the second time in a matter of days, looks to score in front of the blue and white brigade end of the ground.
And he goes straight through Ben Kennedy and equalises for Melbourne Victory. Well, it wasn't perhaps the perfect penalty, but it doesn't matter. 1-1.
That's a hopeful pass rather than anything else from Fashini. But at that moment there, that's the first thing that would have caught the referee's eye. Thiago leaving the ground, looking at the intended recipient, Luzardo, and then when his hand goes over the shoulder, it's a double whammy. I don't think the ref had any alternative. He was decisive, as was Harry Kewell, who's gone underneath Ben Kennedy, who guessed the right way. Too much power on the shot from Harry Kewell, and we're back square.
The 7th penalty that Melbourne Victory have been awarded this season, more than any other club. I think that's 7 goals in 9 now for Harry Kewell. Just the lift that Melbourne Victory needed. Just the sort of blow Newcastle, after taking the lead with that excellent goal, didn't. Pepper. Elrich. Stanley to Jeffers. Can't quite evade the attentions of Milligan, who commits the infringements, according to the referee.
He's looking good, Franny Jeffers, isn't he? Set up the goal last week. He was integral to the goal they've scored this week. Just starting to grow into the game, dropping off that front line, which is suiting him a little more. Picking the ball up, turning, supporting the run of an oncoming midfielder with a nicely weighted pass into their path.
Well, it's almost dead centre. It's a long way out. It's being placed by Bjorn with perhaps a view to having a dig here. Maybe going to be teed up for Ruben Zatkovic, who's going to strike it. Well, decent power, not quite the direction.
Yeah, not bad, but not good enough. Kovic never troubled.
Rain still tumbling down here at AAMI Park, and it hasn't affected the quality of the match, that's for sure. So maybe it's added to it with the extra zip on the turf. This is Griffiths. Kantarovski. Jeffers. Turns the corner.
Well, more of the same from Franny Jeffers. Nice little diagonal dart in behind the defenders, found by Kantarovski, and then outfoxing two Melbourne Victory markers when he was going nowhere in particular, but he wins the corner with a little bit of craftiness.
Harry Kewell now joint top scorer for Melbourne Victory this season with 8, alongside Carlos Hernandez. Archie Thompson just one behind. It's defending on Victory lines at the moment. In towards the near post, awkward one. I think it was Kovic who got an arm to it. Jim Magilton's side have never really convinced defensively all season, be it under Magilton or Mehmet Durakovic. Again, beaten at the near post, this time by Griffiths. They escape on that occasion. Hooked back in by Wheelhouse, flicked on towards Topper Stanley, who I thought was onside initially, but the flag was raised. Melbourne Victory can breathe easy for a few moments. Clearly offside.
Good decision by the assistant referee. My first instinct was similar to yours, Simon, but we didn't have nearly the same view as the assistant, who got it totally right.
Now Kemp out of position. Thought Victory were on the attack there, and he's got to scamper back. Milligan coming across to cover Ryan Griffiths, and he's done an excellent job to cover for his fullback. That's
4 of the same from Milligan. And an excellent display of anticipation and positional play.
Wheelhouse. On to with Griffiths. Nobody went with Wheelhouse. Can he get the right cross in? It's tapped into the back of the net by, who is it, Jacob Pepper, for his first ever goal in the A-League. Great moment for him. Not such a great moment for the Melbourne Victory defence, because they allowed the man to run without the track, and Jacob Pepper said thank you very much. 2-1 Newcastle.
Well, I thought the goal Melbourne Victory conceded against Gold Coast last week was a poor one. The Caramello Bears, the soft centres, this is more of the same. That's an angled pass from the byline that's got past 3 Melbourne Victory players in effect. And then Jacob Pepper, to make things worse, has ghosted in unmarked. And he's nailed the finish, and the Jets are looking great at the moment. Really, 2 or 3 entries into the Victory penalty area for 2 goals.
Same old story for the Victory Harps. We talked on Thursday night about Adelaide United's defensive problems. It's been a similar tale of woe for Melbourne Victory. "37 goals they've now conceded this season. Pretty sure only Adelaide have conceded more. Stanley. Kantarovski. Scores level for just 5 minutes. Flicked on by Griffiths. Kantarovski giving chase. Lozano's clearance. Newcastle Jets ahead in the city where they haven't won, at least against the Victory, since December 2007. And there's the young man who's given them the lead. Credit to Joe Wheelhouse for the assist. And it was nothing much more than a tap-in for Pepper.
Terrific reward for what's been a very productive season for the youngster. There was talk pre-game about maybe Jacob Pepper missing out because of Joe Wheelhouse and Ben Kantarovski both being available. Last 5 minutes, the domination has gone completely with the visitors.
Hernandez. How on earth Thompson's going to get to that? Touched by Jeffers, read by Kemp, cut out by Thiago. Lozano. Square for Franjic, Milligan. It's a loose one from Lozano. They weren't comfortable playing out from the back there, Melbourne Victory. Now they could be in trouble again. Franny Jeffers. Wheelhouse took a tumble on the wet surface. And Rojas closes him down. Kantarovski wins it back for the Jets. Griffiths. Tackle from behind by Kemp, free kick.
Well, the Victory have got to get together here. They're, at the moment, this period of the game, they're really running the risk of coming apart completely. The confidence has just dropped remarkably in their defence. That last turnover from Lozano putting his team under enormous pressure.
Zadkovic in towards the near post. Everybody missed it for the Victory. Before eventually Matthew Foschini took charge, and he's issuing a fair old rollicking to, I think it's Sube Lozano, who's about 8 years his senior, but it doesn't really matter in football, does it? Being held back, and Jim Magilton and Kevin Muscat's on this near touchline just going to be spoken to by Lucien Labrador, the fourth official. Some of the protests have been rather loud. Still going on, that discussion between Muscat and Labrador. Kewell. Back for Lozano. Now Milligan. Towards Thompson, but it's far too easy for Thiago. Now Kantarovski striding through the midfield. He's shown Jago a clean pair of heels, but ball too far in advance of Griffiths.
Well, I reckon that was reasonable from Ben Kantarovski, more than. It was an impressive little burst, and Milligan had been dragged out of his position, which vacated that space. Kantarovski accepted the opportunity, and I thought showed good instinct to square that ball, or angle that ball back left with his left foot rather, to the right side, but Ryan Griffiths hadn't read it. But this is there for Newcastle at the moment. Make no mistake.
Kewell first to react to that loose ball. All he could do was belt it forward in the direction of Thompson.
This was the test that Victory were always going to face in this game. Unless they'd gotten away to a 3 or 4 goal lead quite miraculously, there was going to be a period in the game where they were going to have to find something from within and ratchet things up a bit. And we're at that point now. Harry Kewell doing his bit to energise the troops. Let's see if that lead is taken by other players, because the Jets are leading them on a merry dance at the moment.
Started to play a bit of football too. Elridge. Stopped in his tracks by Jago. Franic. Forward by Lozano. Now Marco Rojas. Kemp galloping forward to offer support. Here is Matthew Kemp. He's away from Zankovic. Can he find the ball in? It's away by Topo Stanley. Will it break for Archie Thompson? Appeals for handball. Quite vociferous wants to, but Jared Gillett shakes his head and says it's not going to be a second penalty kick.
Well, that was better, much better from Melbourne Victory, but now they've got to get back because the Jets aren't waiting. They're coming straight back for more.
Elrich. Oh, look at this here for Franny Jeffers. It's blocked by Kemp. Melbourne Victory stretched after they push forward in search of that equaliser. They have to be very careful, Harps, to keep the back door locked.
Well, it was a beautiful attack. They just ran out of one striker at the end of the cross.
Well, you can hear howls of protest from the Victory supporters. It definitely hit the arm of Kantarowski. What's your take on it, Harps?
Well, I think I'm with the ref on that one. It's a really tough call. He's got a split second. And it certainly wasn't hand to ball. He looked to withdraw his hand. Now, whether that's enough, I mean, this is the third replay. There's no question the hand has stopped the ball from going into the goal. That's the way fans will see it. The ref has to decide whether that contact was intentional, though.
The problem is, Harps, you can have endless debates, can't you, about intent. I think it's time they clarified the laws.
That's a fair point.
And said if it hits the arm, it's a penalty. Full stop.
Yep.
That's my take.
We'll be expecting you to make that supplication to FIFA then, Simon.
I don't think they'll listen to me. I think they'll listen to too many people. Thompson has managed to slide it through. Kewell nearly lost his footing. And nearly released Thompson. Wheelhouse. Look at Ryan Griffiths here. How much room he's got. Zankovic herring forward. Here is the Jets number 10, and he's away from Kemp. Danger again for the Victory. It is 3-1, and it's a second goal for Jacob Pepper. And it's come down that right flank again. Melbourne Victory at 6s and 7s, and the Jets now have a 2-goal cushion. And a great finish again by the youngster.
Well, congratulations to Jacob Pepper. Look how much field there is for Newcastle Jets to hurt. Matthew Kemp struggling to get back. Lozado set up and then beaten with an overlap run. Kemp had nothing left in the tank. And they're defending like a wet paper bag at the moment, the Melbourne Victory. Their season is slipping away as they're watching it, as Jacob Pepper, if you don't mind, helps himself to a second.
Well, it's a dream day for the Newcastle-born youngster and those travelling Jets fans who are in great voice away to our right, and why not? They might have expected the charge of the Light Brigade after Harry Kewell equalised from the penalty spot. Instead, they've gone up the other end and scored twice more.
And indeed, you know, the way football works, at 2-1 they had, whichever way you cut it, a very good claim for a penalty with a handball on Kantarowski. Not awarded. Here they come again, the Jets.
A lot of it's going through Jeffers out to this right-hand side. Here's Griffiths. Victory fans starting to vent their frustrations. Zankovic will try. Well, a bit ambitious that from Ruben Zankovic.
Oh, that was very charitable of Ruben Zankovic. Very charitable, because they got the Victory on the rack. The travelling fans are loving it.
Jacob Pepper never scored before today in the A-League. And what about this, Harps? There's going to be a change even before the first half is out for Melbourne Victory. Lee Broxham is stripped and ready to come on, unless there's an injury, of course. But it looks to me as though it's tactical. Maybe get confirmation about that in a moment.
I just wonder if Broxham goes into the centre of midfield and Milligan goes into the centre of defence to try and shore things up, or if Broxham goes in for Jimmy Jeggo, straight swap, or indeed Matt Kemp is the one who does look to be struggling, and then that reshuffle is going to be very interesting.
Matt Kemp's not played too many games this season. He's been caught out there again. Griffiths. Floated one in the direction of Jeffers is gathered by Kovic. Hernandez for Kemp. Milligan. Kewell helps it over the top for Thompson. Awkward one to control. Rojas takes over. Really, there wasn't too much help there for Rojas. Here's the change. And it is going to be Matthew Kemp. He's going to be substituted, and he does not look too impressed with the decision. Well, I think those pictures tell a huge story. Matthew Kemp, with a dismissive wave towards the Victory bench, is off down the tunnel. He's had enough. It is all going horribly wrong here for Melbourne Victory, Harps.
Well, the signs were there. I'm not sure if Kemp was the one solely responsible. He was certainly exposed on that third goal. But after the opening 20-odd minutes, when they were dominating the football match, they just progressively got looser and looser. And the Jets' first goal was impressive.
Now Thompson, onside! Hits the woodwork. Well, he looked like he was 2 metres offside at least, but maybe the replay will tell us differently.
No, I think he might have just sprung from onside. Kewell was definitely offside. Maybe it just come from an onside position. Difficult to tell again from that replay. 3-2 would have done the tonic. It's given them an ability to take breath, Melbourne Victory. They're just all over the place at the moment.
Out of play off the boot of Zatkovic. Kewell challenged rather heftily by Thiago from behind, and he's having the discussion with the Brazilian. It's with Hernandez. A little pitching wedge, beautiful ball, but Thompson had gone too early.
They defended it well, Newcastle. It was a beautiful little try by Carlos Hernandez, but they were alert to the danger, and a very well-coordinated defence, which if I was to say one thing about the progress of Newcastle Jets this year is their back line, whether it's 3 or 4, more often than not 4, is just in much better sync nowadays. And that's really given them a foundation to attack this competition.
Well, 1 minute to go before the break, and Jim Magilton is going to have his most important team talk since he became coach of the Melbourne Victory, because their season really is now hanging by an absolute thread. It could get worse if Jeffers can find his way through here. Instead, it's up the other end, and Archie Thompson trying to use his pace. Here comes Harry Kewell. Was he tackled from behind? The referee has pointed to the spot. Another penalty for Melbourne Victory, right on the cusp of the break. Wow.
Wow.
And what's the decision on Zatkovic? Because, of course, he's in the book already.
Indeed, Simon, it's a very good pickup. He's a very fortunate man. I think there's no question it's a penalty. And Zatkovic and Topor Stanley are blowing up. But Thompson, great awareness, an important burst of speed by Harry Kewell. Maybe he attracted a bit of contact as well. And that's part of the beauty of the experience of Harry Kewell. We've had more talking points in this half of football than we've had for quite some time, at least since Melbourne Victory last played, Simon.
And how important is this penalty? It could breathe new life into Melbourne Victory's season, which is in danger of dying a death here at AAMI Park. Oh! Would you believe it? He has spooned it into the crowd. Harry Kewell, the man in red-hot form at the moment. Well, you're speechless, Harps, and that doesn't happen too often.
Well, a picture tells 1,000 words. Suffice to say that if you could pick one man with his left foot to score you a penalty, it'd be Harry Kewell. Wow. It's days of our lives here at AAMI Park with Melbourne Victory. It has been quite a remarkable season.
Milligan breaks it up in midfield. Well, if they are to save their season, they're going to have to do it the hard way. Just perhaps, Harps, just on Newcastle Jets' first half performance, they deserve that little stroke a lot because they played really well.
Yeah, they have. The Victory, maybe for 16, 17, 20 minutes, were dominating the game. But Thompson's hit the crossbar. 2-1 down. They had that penalty claim. Handball on Ben Kantarowski. They blinked, looked at the scoreboard, and it was 3-1 to Newcastle.
Offside against Rojas.
And then right on the edge of half-time, arguably Australia's greatest ever left foot misses the target completely from the penalty spot.
Well, Melbourne Victory may be disappointing their supporters at the moment, but they never fail to disappoint the neutral. There's always drama involving this club. A first half that's seen 4 goals, 2 penalties, 1 missed, 1 off the woodwork from Archie Thompson, and a whole heap of talking points as well. At the break at AAMI Park, it's Melbourne Victory 1, Newcastle Jets.
Welcome back to Hyundai Matchday Saturday. We've had goals, brouhahas, yellow cards, penalties, missed penalties, more goals, early substitutions. It's all happening at AAMI Park. Absolutely incredible first 45 minutes. I don't know how we're all going to get it into the halftime show, but we're going to try. And we're going to start with Mark Bosnich and his take on Newcastle's opener. After a bright opening, kind of from Melbourne Victory, Newcastle took the lead.
A superb opening by Melbourne Victory, and first attack, first goal. Poor defending. It must be said, the whole 4 defenders, unfortunately for Matthew Kemp, he's paid the price for all of their defending, which has been at best schoolboy. And you know, it just looks as though they were completely at 6s and 7s. Ante Kovic, perhaps on reflection as well, may have stayed back, but they just don't seem to know what the other one's doing. And I hate to harp on about it, but I said I think it was 5 or 6 weeks ago when they signed Lozado, and now Adrian Lay is out for the rest of the season. They should have just got Kevin Muscat to re-sign. At least he would provide some organisation at the back, regardless of his fitness, because that is what they are lacking, like in a big way.
Roots, what about the equaliser that got Melbourne Victory back into it? Thiago, what was he thinking?
Got to ask him. I'm sure there'll be questions asked now. They're lucky they're 3-1 up at half-time as well, because if it was 1-1 or if they were down, I mean, he completely lost touch of the ball as well. He had no idea where it was. You can see by his eyesight there. Man, he's staring Lozado in the eyes or in the face right there, and he has no idea about it. He's just led with his knee. He smashed into Lozado, and rightly so, given a penalty and smashed away by Harry Kewell. Got a touch lucky as well, you must admit, but he hit that with enough power. You can see Ben Kennedy. Could have got to it, but he didn't. Got a touch to it anyway, but he'd be very angry with himself they didn't keep that one out.
And then it all went to pot for Melbourne Victory. Jacob Pepper with a double. Is it just their youthful exuberance and energy, Newcastle just overriding Victory, or is it something else possible?
No, it's just every time they attack, they look like they're going to score a goal. Simple, really. I would say, 4 meaningful attacks, 3 goals. And once again, players switching off, lack of organisation at the back. They're having trouble in dealing with people running from midfield. But look, I feel sorry for Matthew Kemp, but he did switch off there completely. that guy made a run inside his channel. Once the ball goes in here, watch, he switches off. Okay, where's the danger? The danger's there towards the goal, not the man that's out wide. And the guys in the centre, look at him, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all around, and no one near the guy who's going to score the goal, Jacob Pepper.
Yeah, look, I think you've got to give credit to the Newcastle coaching staff here as well. Matthew Kemp is coming at left back. He hasn't played there, hasn't had a lot of game time either, and they've really attacked him. And then that side, that's for sure. Ruben Zatkovic has had a hand in most of the goals too. He's been really good in getting forward. And also Ryan Griffiths, give him a lot of credit too. Very smart footballer, and he showed that in the first 45 minutes. He's able to go from out to in. Okay, allowed a lot of space for Ruben Zatkovic, and then they've attacked Kempy's side. And Matthew Kemp has had not a very good game, that's for sure.
And just quickly, Bozza, just before the break, kind of the story of Melbourne Victory season. You think something good's going to happen, and then something doesn't. Harry Kewell missing the penalty.
Yeah, we said right before the penalty, you know, like good penalty takers will normally go the same side. Harry decided to go the other side and unfortunately lifted his head. Definite penalty, and I also thought the one with Kanarowski was a penalty as well. They could have had 3 penalties quite easily. And Harry, what can you say? No excuse, as from a player of his quality that he should have tucked that away. Fair play to Ben Kennedy for standing up for a long time to make it a smaller target. But
in saying that, you think Archie Thompson should have stepped up? And I know he scored the first penalty, but in terms of the form of Archie right now, to just step up and score and.
Perhaps so, but Archie, I would have thought Harry, being in the form that he's in, he probably just said, give it to me. It's
Welcome back to Matchday Saturday. Well, Melbourne Victory have been backed off the map. Moments ago, they were $18 to win this one. They're into $15. Still despised outsiders. $5.25 the draw. $1.20 Newcastle Jets. We're back to AAMI Park. Simon and Harps.
Well, Melbourne Victory, 15 matches unbeaten at home, but they're facing a real crisis here. Looks as though they're going to make a change as well. Let's go down and get confirmation from Michael Zappone. Zappa.
Thanks, Simon. Yeah, Isaka Sunak, as you can see, about to come on. Marco Rojas, who played for New Zealand during the week, is coming off, so that's a change for Melbourne Victory. Of course, we saw Matthew Kemp come off as well just before half-time. Some expletives came from the mouth of Matthew Kemp towards the Melbourne Victory bench, so that won't do his future any good. The ground is holding up really well despite all the rain. It is starting to shift a little bit. Also, an interesting note on the penalty. Harry Kewell did step up for the second one, but as far as I was aware, up until a week ago, they had an agreement, Harry and Carlos, one each. Harry stood up for the second, and that's what happened.
Good stuff. Thank you very much indeed, Zappa. Be interesting to see if Melbourne were to get a third penalty. Who would take it then? Moments don't look good for the home side. They are the worst performing second half team in the competition, of course. There's the man of the moment so far as Newcastle are concerned, young Jacob Pepper. 2 goals today, now on a hat-trick. As the visitors get us back underway, some of their play in pretty trying conditions, Andy Harper, was good to watch in the first half.
Well, they're a very solid unit at the moment. Newcastle Jets building an impressive head of steam. And they've left, on the scoreboard at least, Melbourne Victory in their wake. Of course, that's not the complete story from the first half. Melbourne's defending certainly leaving a lot to be desired, but a missed penalty, another claim for a penalty, turned down, and Thompson hitting the crossbar. But that just re-emphasises the problems of Melbourne Victory, and that pretty much every game they play in turns into a shootout. And it's great for the neutrals.
Here come the Jets again through Joe Boylehouse. Held up by Jago. Zatkovic gave away that penalty right on the stroke of half-time. Didn't receive a yellow card for it, even though he had already been booked. And, well, again, far too casually given away by Melbourne Victory. Lozano, the offender. This is Bjorn. Enjoying a happier occasion, at least at the moment, than his last trip to AAMI Park, the Korean defender. Fashini. Kantarovski. Victory's defending halves. I mean, what is it? Is it lack of organisation? Is it lack of concentration?
Yeah.
Is it lack of ability even?
In some cases, I think, Simon, it's a lack of concentration. It's low confidence. And then it gets to very basic situations like the second goal where midfielders just don't track runners.
Jeffers. Time to turn and find Griffiths. Zatkovic racing forward. Tepper. Kantarovski. Well, you could see what he was trying to do there. Just gave Zatkovic the eyes as if to say, go on, and I'll put it in behind for you to chase onto.
And that's all very well, but not what Van Egmont's after. He wants possession to be recycled in those situations. If the avenue closes and don't force the pass, turn out and come back the other side.
Pepper. Griffiths dispossessed by Cernak. Second half substitute for the Victory. Hernandez. Foschini. It's too far for Foschini. He's claiming a corner. Looks as though he's about to spontaneously combust. Matthew Foschini.
Well, he's not backward in coming forward, telling you what he thinks. Matthew Foschini.
Jago down the line. Hernandez and Thompson trying to get the combinations going. Beyond to Griffiths, and Griffiths wins the aerial challenge against Lee Broxham. It's better by Melbourne Victory. Milligan. Foschini. So a little nudge there by Topple Stanley. There was. Free kick already taken for Kewell. Back it comes for Milligan. Jago. Link over the top, attempting to find Thompson. It's a bit narrow. Cernak trying to dig it out. Elrich says enough of that. Look at the mud caked on Ante Kovic and several of the other players. It's wild and wet and wintry day in Melbourne.
The pitch has held up brilliantly. It's had a very busy week.
Who says we're a summer sport, eh, Hubs?
What summer? Certainly if you come from the state of New South Wales, it's been summer in name only.
Jago. Hernandez. No foul there. At least not given. Broxham. Jago. Foschini. To the feet of Kewell. Back heel not read by Thompson. Thiago brings it forward and finds Zatkovic with a very cute ball with the outside of the boot. Zatkovic has got strength and a bit of pace. In the end, he just shoved Lee Broxham over the goal line.
Well, that's an effort that's taken Ruben Zatkovic from his own penalty area to the opposite end of the field, the corner flag. Nice work from Thiago.
A no-look pass.
Doesn't mind the no-look pass.
Can be risky at times.
Maybe that's why I can't look.
Milligan turning away from Kantarovski. Thompson. Jago. Jeffers approaching on the blind side. Milligan. And some space for Broxham to try and attack Zatkovic. Not naturally left-footed though, Lee Broxham. Kewell got a bit lucky there. Trying to ride his good fortune. Hernandez beaten in the air. That's a foul by Milligan. Jacob Pepper, product of the Edgeworth Club in northern New South Wales. Still an apprentice, technically, with the Jets, along with Jack Duncan. Not sure they call them that these days. Youth team professionals, is that the correct terminology, Harps?
It's probably all getting a bit wordy, really. He's looking like a senior pro in every other respect, though.
Elridge, clean pair of heels to Fashini. Cuts inside and he goes for goal. That was really good work under pressure by Tariq Elridge. Now it's the victory on the charge through Isaka Cernak. Fair challenge by Zatkovic.
It was, he'd given him up straight away, himself up straight away. Anyway, Victory got the ball. Newcastle Jets are in the box seat.
Milligan. Thompson back for Jago. Hernandez. Clever victory, needed a bit of magic from their Costa Rican. It is now. Here he is.
The game is a mirror image of the first half, this start of the second half. It's Melbourne controlling the territory and the possession.
Cernak.
Ben Kennedy yet to be tested, however, in the Newcastle goal.
Milligan, chip forward towards Thompson, who did get there. It's hooked to safety by Toppel Stanley. Kept in play by Griffiths. Balls with Hernandez. And for Fashini. Goal kick. Well, decent possession, Harps, without ever really threatening clear shot on goal.
No, a little half chance there, but Toppel Stanley was alive to the danger. Hooking the ball clear. Jim Magilton's a frustrated figure on the sideline. Coaching's a tough game. Errors from players kill you. Brilliance from players sets you on your way.
Well, victory with all the ball in the last 5 minutes. Decent spell of possession, but nothing really at the end of it. And now Kantarovski has robbed Jago. Pepper. Zatkovic. Ryan Griffiths getting on the wrong side of Ube Lozado. It's not a bad ball in either. It's headed clear by Franjic. Jago challenged by Bjorn. Tidied up by Fashini. And given away. Pepper. Tidy work.
I'm just watching Melbourne Victory now. They've had pretty much all the ball in this second half. But the times when they've changed, or there has been a changeover in possession, the one thing you look for, Simon, with teams' attitude at the moment, their state of mind, how confident they are as a football team, is how quickly they pressure in transition. In the last couple of turnovers, Melbourne Victory have lost the ball and then stood back. There's been no pressure on Newcastle as they've played their way out and changed the direction of the attack. That's the first thing you're looking to try and turn around. And thankfully for them, that last header by Franjic in the centre of his own penalty area, which was a really good defensive header. If he doesn't make that, Francis Jeffers is right there for a great goal-scoring opportunity, which would have come on the back of exactly a period of play like that.
Jim Magilton is desperately trying to inject some of that urgency into his players from the sideline. is. After Merrick, we had Mehmet. Now there's Magilton, but the Melbourne Malaise remains the same. Time ticks away. Here's Jeffers. Set up nicely for the Englishman.
Yeah, knows he should have done better. It's got way better technique than that. A little bit lazy, actually, would be my assessment. He's been busy today, Jeffers. Very effective. In his last 2-3 games, we're starting to see Francis Jeffers in some of his best form just at that moment. I think he switched off. A little bit of a lazy execution. It was a good opportunity. It did set up nicely for him.
The role he's playing really suits him, doesn't it? Now Hernandez, he's onside. Carlos Hernandez. I'm not sure even he knew he was.
Ben Kennedy just didn't blink. Very well done, Ben Kennedy. Another golden chance for Melbourne victory. And let's face it, despite some of the problems they're having across the field, they've had some enormously good chances. And this is good as any of them. Hernandez, geez, you'd have money on that too. He scores the ridiculously spectacular Carlos Hernandez. And a much easier transaction for him has come and gone.
Eased off slightly in Melbourne. The pain remains for Melbourne victory. Pepper. Jeffers. Funny, Jeffers doesn't always play the full 90 minutes. There's another veteran Englishman on the bench, Michael Bridges, who play that sort of role as well. If that had been a case again today. This is Bjorn. Elridge. Griffiths. Waiting for Zankovic to join in with the attack. Delivery easily cut out by Lozado. Jago prods it forward for Hernandez, and even the pace of Archie Thompson won't get to that one. Cernak, Kewell, Fashini, back for Cernak. No pressure on Thiago. Franic, Melbourne victory will have another go. We need to get the crowd back into this Harps as well. It's a bit flat around AAMI Park. 1 or 2 grumbles around the place.
Well, you can understand that. And I've been willing this team on, pushing them on all season with great numbers and great noise. And they're just a goal away from setting the place alight again. But you can only repeat, they've had their chances to get that second goal. Great chances.
Will this be a chance for the Jets? Tarek Elridge striding forward. Kantarovski. Wheelhouse. Good tackle by Zaka Cernak. Now they need a bit of urgency here. The victory. Jago. High line played by Newcastle, and it's worked. Harry Kewell, the man caught on the far side. That's what we mean perhaps about organisation. Maybe the difference between the two.
Yeah. That angle looks to be offside. As if you could put any store in the straightness of the mowing lines at a stadium.
Well, it's difficult to know what lines to take notice of, and there's so many codes of football played. Franic. Fashini. showed enough of it to Tariq Elridge.
What about the pressure or lack thereof on Francis Jeffers? Just quietly, he picked the ball up on halfway. Didn't have to get out of first gear as he looked to keep the ball safe. Melbourne Victory players, for none of whom the penny dropped that they've got to go and get this bloke, or at least the ball, preferably the latter, that put some pressure on him. But the tide isn't going to turn by itself if you're a Melbourne Victory player. Someone has to affect the situation. Season 7 is evaporating otherwise for them.
Wilbo Lozado almost cleared that into our commentary box. Now here's a change for the Jets, and Captain Job Wheelhouse, who's been out for the last couple of weeks, maybe not quite back to full fitness. He's going to be replaced by Ali Abbas. There's the Iraqis' first involvement. Now, of course, a naturalised Australian as well. Zadkovic. Came off Broxham, corner. Listen to the noise, or the lack thereof, around AAMI Park. There's almost an air of resigned acceptance, would you say, Harps?
Stunned acceptance.
Yep. Swinger, flicked on, and it came off Adam Franjic towards his own goal before Kovic dived backwards to rescue the situation. Probably would have been Kurtz if it had gone to 4-1. Hernandez. Victory can't stick hold of it. Jeffers felled by Franjic. Zadkovic. Jeffers. The game approaching the final quarter. Newcastle Jets really comfortable in their lead at the moment. Victory needing a pick-me-up from somewhere. Has booked Carlos Hernandez. Just thought for a moment he was going to book Beyond for diving.
No, the boot was raised from Carlos Hernandez in defence of the Costa Rican. I think he was anticipating Beyond lifting the ball up and over. And in the end, can't complain with the referee's decision. And indeed, Carlos himself didn't protest.
Forward by Topple Stanley, met in the air by Lozado. Now Kewell kills it, turns, looks for Thompson, can't find him. Ali Abbas. Lozado back to Kovic. Jago. For Fashini. Cernak setting off on a run. Now Kewell nets in ahead of Topple Stanley. Bjorn providing cover. Kantarovski. Abbas with some room. And he threaded through for Tariq Elridge, who's big mate at the Jets. Both appealing for the decision. And goes Melbourne Victory's way.
Good defending for Fashini. It's not an easy situation. Got there first and was. Nice pass from Ali Abbas. Sheeny was adjudged to have hit the ball onto Harry Kewell and out for the goal kick.
Thompson. Now Broxham. Well, it comes to nothing, but at least it brought the crowd back to life just for a split second. Because they look pretty flat at the moment.
That group of people will be going right for the full 90. I'll just be expecting that those representing them on the pitch will have the same attitude. As things stand, there's going to be a logjam on 34 points, Simon. Positions 4, 5 and 6. The Hyundai A-League all square on 34, unless Melbourne Victory can dig themselves out of this rather significant hole in which they find themselves.
Franny Jeffers copping one from Franjic. Looks to be in some pain still. Jeremy Brockie is doing some limbering up on the sidelines. Just copped a dead leg there. Well, these boos, music to the ears of the Newcastle Jets. 3 excellently worked goals in the first half, and they've frustrated Melbourne Victory to a large degree in the second. Just that one chance for Carlos Hernandez, outright chance anyway. Milligan, cut out by Elrich. Carlos Solorzano being readied by the Victory. Will be their final change off the bench. Let's throw the dice of the season, perhaps. Bjorn. Jeffers has gone down again behind play, by the way. Zankovic. Abbas. Cross comes over, it'll fall for Bjorn. Jeffers back upon his feet rather gingerly. He wants to come off. In fact, that time may well be now. Gary Van Egmond asking the question of his former England international. Doesn't look as though he's going to be able to continue. Meantime, here's the change for Victory. So Lawsano on, and it's Archie Thompson coming off halves.
Well, Archie hasn't had the impact in this second half. A great chance hit the crossbar in the first. And of course, an enormously successful contribution for the Socceroos midweek.
And he too goes straight down the tunnel. No back chat to Jim Magilton or Kevin Muscat, but it's been that sort of a day for the Victory.
It has, and it's petering out. It is petering out. And there's still time. I mean, this is the thing. There's still 20 minutes. One goal changes the atmosphere completely. There's still enough firepower on the field. It's Jeremy Brockie on for Francis Jeffers now.
Do they look as though they've got the belief to do it, though?
Well, that's the point I'm in a roundabout way making. I never question players' desire to win, but when your confidence is down and things are starting to go away from you, it does appear as though the appetite isn't there. They've got to lift it. There's got to be a leader out there. Someone's got to grab the effort by the scruff of the neck. There's just too much that is slipping away here without a fight.
And the A-League's biggest club deserve and are used to much better. Got a lucky break here, and Solorzano's away, but he too is called back for being offside.
Play on.
There's a Marlon.
Bad decision, very bad decision.
Well, for Frustration, anger, all those emotions running through the veins of the Victory faithful, and there's plenty of them again here today. You don't know what you're doing is the cry. Is that for the linesman or some of the players?
I'd suggest it's for the assistant.
I think it was, yeah. Cernak. Too far for Hernandez. Ben Kennedy sweeping. Newcastle have got another player down. It's Jacob Pepper. Victory in no mood to stop the play. Why should they? 3-1 down. Their season ebbing away. Newcastle's 2-goal hero down on the deck. More boos from the stands. It's been a day of disgruntlement for Melbourne Victory, but fairness to Pepper, he was the victim of, it was near enough to being a scissor tackle from James Jago. Whilst Jacob Pepper gets his attention, confirm the crowd figure, 12,457. It's the Victory's lowest of the season. It's probably the weather has had a huge part to play in that. Our stats guys just pulled me up and said they had 4,500 in Launceston. He's just got a slap. It's good, Dave. He doesn't miss a trick. Here's Fashini. Just a tick over a quarter of an hour left for Victory to try and dig something out. It's just not happening, is it? Let's go down to Michael Zappone. Zappa, what do you got for us?
Thanks, Simon. Well, there's not much hope for Melbourne Victory, but if you're a Victory fan, one glimmer of hope, I suppose, is the fact that Newcastle Jets are playing a really high line out the back, and 2 times Melbourne have got him behind. That Solorzano chance we saw and Hernandez earlier, they did create an opening, and I think with Solorzano coming on now, that's extra speed. Hernandez is pushing up forward and looks like Harry just in behind.
Good stuff, Zappa. Now Fashini, again with plenty to say to Jared Gillett after the infringement by Kantarowski. Well, he at least is seriously fired up. Milligan. Lozado. Can they make it an exciting finale at AAMI Park? It's beyond Solorzano. Back it comes through Milligan. Cernak. He find the right ball, he can't. In fact, it's still in play if Bloxham had been on his go quicker. Cernak. Archie Thompson, substituted earlier on. Have to wait for his 100th National League goal. There's his replacement, Solorzano. It's desperation stuff now for the victory. They simply have to score quickly.
Well, Harry Kewell at left fullback is struggling with cramp. If you're Melbourne Victory, you're looking to get Osaka Cernak onto that right flank and just tell him, give him the ball and tell him to run Tarek, run that tank empty.
Hernandez, that's a good ball. Solorzano. Good chance. Kennedy made a good block.
Sure did. And the problem for Melbourne Victory hasn't been available chances. It's a really, really good piece of work from Ben Kennedy.
Signs of life from Melbourne Victory. They're not quite on life supports just yet. Hernandez towards the near post. Good fist clear though by Kennedy. Brocky helps it on its way. And finally, the patient has been resuscitated.
Yeah, maybe. And that's the spark they need. If they can score in the next few minutes, it'll be a barnstorming finish. I've got no doubt about that. But it's finding that moment, that inspiration, that energy, that piece of brilliance to kickstart things.
Well, Hernandez as good a man as any. And he's picked out Cernak. Solorzano there to help. Lays it off for Jago. Milligan. Hernandez. For Sheedy. Clearing header by Zatkovic. Broxham. Good ball by Broxham. Here's Harry Kewell, kills it in an instant, and Zatkovic turns it behind. Well, some real pressure started to be exerted now by Melbourne Victory with their season slipping away.
Beautiful run, Harry Kewell, and the great players have this ability to freeze time. And he did it with his first touch, and he had to play the ball with the second, but no one was reading it for Victory. Open goal.
Broxham, flat delivery, put behind again by Topo Stanley. 11 minutes to go at AAMI Park. Broxham deeper this time towards Milligan. Good header back across the face. And Solorzano wanting the corner.
There's definitely a corner off Thiago up there. Anyway, this is good defending from Newcastle. Ball swung to the back post. Milligan wins the contest. I'm going to stand corrected. It was good pressure from Thiago, but it was Solorzano's head which headed the ball out. Here comes Tarek Elrich. His tank is in. Michael Bridges, the last of the Newcastle subs, is making a habit of coming on around about now. Steady the ship, cool things down. Jeremy Brocky's come out to the left midfield position.
Newcastle not in any hurry. Why should they be? Chested down by Bridges. Thumped upfield by Lozano. An awkward one for Topo Stanley. Here's Hernandez. Hernandez shoots. Oh, it's a difficult one for Kennedy, but he got it out of harm's way. Really, you have to say, Harps, it's perhaps a bit of a mystery why they haven't tried to test Ben Kennedy a bit more from long range.
Yeah, it's a fair comment. And Hernandez backed himself here either to score the remarkable or to force a fumble. You can see him going just slightly to the right of Kennedy in the slippery conditions. But the block went to safety for Newcastle. Melbourne Victory just one player short in that attack.
Young cleaned up by Hernandez, second yellow. He's gone. 8th red card of the season. Victory down to 10 men. The season ending as it started for Melbourne Victory. In disarray. Was it justified, Andy Harper?
Well, that's pretty benign, really. Magilton can see it coming.
Well, Carlos Hernandez becomes the third man to storm down the tunnel for Melbourne Victory this afternoon. Well, if it was an uphill task beforehand, I think it's just become Mount Everest.
A vertical climb. Sheer vertical climb.
Bridges with a nod down, but penalised for holding. Cernak. Milligan. And Newcastle nice and compact. Close down the space. Jim Magilton trying to get a message over to James Jago, I think. What's the message, Harps? Score?
Well, you just get the feeling that the Victory have been clutching at straws. It's not been a performance with the energy you'd expect with so much at stake. But then, of course, Simon, you can run through the list of incidents and they haven't gone the way of the Victory. And they haven't been good enough to overcome those setbacks. You made the point with the second penalty, which Kewell missed. That was a second yellow opportunity against Ruben Zatkovic. Maybe he was fortunate and his team were fortunate to escape that.
Well, it's strange sometimes when you're struggling, how those decisions appear to go against you. Just ask Adelaide United. Lozada. Signs of time on Melbourne season ticking away. Kewell trying to lift them. It's off Solorzano. In fact, it probably came off Thiago last corner.
It did, Simon. That's the sort of defending that it has got Newcastle out of the hole that they were in about 5 or 6 weeks ago.
Broxham's corner. Met by Bjorn. Fashidi driving it from long range. Well, maybe thought it was time somebody had a shot. Pass for Bridges.
But in the final analysis, the decisions going against Melbourne Victory are certainly one talking point, but the other inescapable fact is how poorly they defended for the goals they conceded.
Credit to Newcastle for the way that they've contained Jim Magilton's side in the second half as well. So far, this is Jago. He's going to have to wait a while longer for his first goal.
Nice touch from Solorzano. Jimmy Jago getting further forward than would normally be the case. Late in the game, he's getting tired. No one else in support. And certainly one for the future. An impressive youngster. Unfortunately for Melbourne Victory fans, as the clock ticks away, it's the future that is now becoming the discussion. Because thanks to Van Egmond and his Newcastle Jets team, you'd imagine that's it for Melbourne Victory.
Let's not forget how big this contest was for the Jets as well. Just 1 point ahead of Sydney FC in 7th at start of play. And of course the Victory could have cut the gap to 2 points on Newcastle had they got the maximum haul. So it's been a really good professional display by Gary Van Egmond's side. 3 clinically taken goals too. Bjorn is been pulled up for encroachment from the throw-in. Kewell is going to play a full 90 minutes, and he's thinking about having a crack here. He is going to have a crack. That too sails over the top. Could it have been so different had he scored that penalty on the stroke of half-time?
Well, they've had all the chances since. Newcastle got to 3-1. They've all had all the chances since.
Now Ben Kennedy's been booked for time wasting. He's going to be sent off if he's not careful. Well, he's complaining that there's plastic bottles being thrown into his penalty area. We can do without that. Two minutes to go. The dying embers of a miserable season for Melbourne on a miserable day in Melbourne. But there will be some very happy Newcastle Jets fans indeed. The Van Egmond revival goes on. Next task, perhaps, to live up to Gary Van Egmond's request and make the grand final from outside the top two. It's a big ask. This result will take them a long way to the finals. Bridges loses out on that occasion to Lozado. Jago. Milligan. Just a hopeful ball, really. It's deceiving Cernak. Warzano can't even get the throw in. Let's get a round of applause from Jim Magilton and Kevin Muscat, though. Scant consolation. So Warzano, one of many whose contract is up at the end of the season. I wonder if he'll be staying in the A-League. Swing by Topor Stanley. He's not made too many mistakes today. Dion. Dion foul by Milligan. Well, you can tell the sting has been taken out of the game, Harps. Even Jim Magilton and Kevin Muscat have both sat down as we move into added time. They know, I think, really that the game is up, although Magilton has just got out of his seat one last time to urge a bit more effort. Big decisions to make for Melbourne Victory during the off-season. Not least, of course, the coaching job, but perhaps an overhaul of the playing roster too.
Well, the silver lining,
your take is?
The silver lining on this very dark cloud is that they can make those decisions now. There's no point putting them off. And get on with rebuilding for next season and beyond.
Kewell. What a chance that was. He miscontrolled it. Jago. Fashini. It's well played by the fullback. Can he find the delivery? And down goes Bjorn as if shot by the sniper. He's happy to give away the corner.
And we should just put the mathematics on this for Melbourne Victory. 3 games to go. If, as it appears the case, they lose this one, they go 8 points behind 6th place. 9 points to play for, 8 points behind 6th place.
should be Kennedy's. And I think I'm right in saying if Sydney win later on against the Mariners, that does put them out of things mathematically, doesn't it? Is that right?
It's your story. I thought I did very well. My abacus has been going to get that one.
Anyway, whatever the maths, realistically, it's not going to happen. Franjic runs it behind, corner. We've got 90 seconds to go. That was brilliant. Here's Bridges, he's running out of play. That was a piece of skill well worth watching from Ali Abbas. Brilliant. Milligan, route one. Nothing doing.
The man on screen, Ben Kennedy, what sort of finish to the season has he mustered for himself, knowing now that with Mark Birighitti joining the club from Adelaide United, he is going to be under real pressure. But, you know, I'll stand corrected on this, and it mightn't be a popular view, but he has really done a great job in the closing stages of this season. Ali Abbas, 3 of them gone. Melbourne Victory defenders, that is. With a beautiful slide of foot.
Chance for the Victory to put a bit more respectability on the scoreline. Kewell with the free kick, but Kennedy comes out and a good double-handed fist. Jago, Thiago, it's been solid all day, and the full-time whistle goes. The boos resonate around AAMI Park. 5 wins out of 6 for the Jets as they take a giant leap towards the finals. But it's over for Melbourne Victory after a season of rancour and recrimination. The finals are finally gone, if not mathematically, then certainly realistically. A game of 4 goals, 2 penalties, 1 missed by Harry Kewell, but nobody can really deny that the Jets were worthy winners. Their first win against the Victory in Melbourne in over 4 years. It's finished here at AAMI Park. Melbourne Victory 1, Newcastle Jets 3. Well, what a great day for the Jets, but in fairness, Andy Harper, in the second half, they were pretty comfortable.
Well, one of the stories out of the game, and there's 3 or 4 of them, was that they weren't really tested in the second half. They didn't have to attack Melbourne Victory's goal. They had the 2-goal lead, and Victory did have enough chances to get out of this mess, and that's been one of the stories that's gone through the season. They haven't finished teams off when they had the chance. They had the chance to get at least back square here today, but couldn't find it within them to do that.
And they finished with 10 men, of course, as well, after the dismissal of Carlos Hernandez. Let's go down to Michael Zappone. Zappa.
Thanks, Simon. I'm with Jacob Pepper. What a day for you, Jacob. 2 goals, first goals in the A-League.
Yeah, it's a good feeling, you know, to score, especially away from home. But all the boys dug deep and we got the result, so it's just good.
And it's a massive result in the context of the season now, isn't it? Sets you up nicely to play finals football.
Oh, definitely. We needed a win from home, you know, to push us in the top 6, and the boys done well today, and it's, you know, it's a good feeling, and we'll celebrate in the sheds.
Soft plastics. You certainly had plenty of possession in the first half, and you seem to be exploiting Melbourne Victory down the right-hand side. Did you identify that as a weakness, or was it more just getting the ball out wide and trying to expose Melbourne from that perspective?
Yeah, you know, as the game went, you know, you got to see what happens, and there was a lot of space down the right, so we took that advantage, and yeah, it was good, and just, you know, we went from there.
Plenty of banter behind me from the boys. Just goes to show just how close this group is. You've been through a lot this season with the change of coach. You feel like now that with Gary Van Engmond being there for some time, that you've got the groups playing really well together?
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's coming together, and you know, the boys can show we're a tight group now, and you know, it's definitely showing on the pitch, which is great.
Thanks for joining us. Well done.
Thank you.
Well, Harry Kewell joins us in a minute as he makes his way over. Wearing the captain's armband. this evening. Harry, season on the line for Melbourne tonight. Was that good enough from your perspective as captain?
Oh, look, we gave 3 soft goals away. Again, that's been part of our season, you know. Disappointing for the players and also disappointing for the manager, plus the fans, you know. We can't give goals away. That's the important thing in football. We work our socks off to get goals, and it's just a shame. You know, we dominate games, but we just don't finish them.
Certainly have some defensive errors that cost the team tonight.
Again, yeah, you can't do that. It's not the first time we've done it in games, and you know, it's costly, and you know, that's probably put us out of the playoffs. We just got to hope now that something happens dramatically, and we can sneak in there through the back door.
So much hope for the season this year, and you look at yourself now, and you look like you'll miss out on finals. What do you put it down to overall? Today it was defensive errors, but for the whole season,
again, we just don't finish our chances. We create enough chances. We should put them away. Teams come here and they know that they're probably playing the best team, and they're up for it. And that's something that we've got to deal with. We have that kind of aura about us, and it's just a shame that we haven't finished teams off. Now we've just got to concentrate on the next games coming up.
Matthew Kemp wasn't too happy about being taken off at half-time.
I think no one is. No one's happy about getting taken off, but it's part and parcel of the game, and if that's the way the manager sees it, then you've got to be big enough to accept it and move on.
Thanks for your time, Harry.
Yeah, thanks.
Dirty night for Melbourne Victory. Yeah, they're now 8 points in arrears of Newcastle and Melbourne Heart on 34 points with 3 games remaining. They can win 9 points from those games, of course. The maths is going well. However, maths is not going well for Melbourne Victory. They need those teams above them to lose every single game to have a chance. But before we get to Melbourne Victory, guys, quick one on Newcastle Jets, or an extended one if you like, because they came to that ground to play the same opponent in round 15. They got beaten. And remember, we talked about it after the game. They were happy with the performance when they got beaten. We're like, hang on. But now we can see what they were getting at, because things have turned around beautifully for them.
Oh, they have, but they tinkered a few things. At that time, they were at a different stage of their development, and finally, Gary Van Egmond, who's done a wonderful job, has basically found the players to fit the system that he wants them to play, and everyone looks comfortable. They know exactly what their roles are, and you know, there's that thing of, you know, when people individually are doing really good things, you know, goalkeepers making great saves, defenders making great tackles, midfielders making lung-busting runs, and strikers putting the ball in the back of the net. But in saying all that, you know, they were given a great helping hand by what you could describe as schoolboy defending in the first half.
Roods will have more on that in a moment with Fox Field, but the second half, Roods, for Melbourne Victory, in your eyes, they created a few chances, but did they ever look likely?
Look, they did create a few chances, and the game was still tight. You know, a 2-goal lead is always a dangerous one. And if they got the opportunity to at least get one of those back, and we saw earlier in the second half that they had a fantastic opportunity. This is the one here, you know, all alone. And then there's one-on-one with the keeper. He's taken, you know, he's had a bit of a poor touch. He didn't see, and it's good keeping as well by Ben Kennedy. Got to give him a lot of credit there too. He made himself look really big. He came out and narrowed the angles, and from then on, you know, Melbourne did try, and they were, you know, peppering Newcastle's goal, and they had a couple of really good opportunities. And Newcastle,
as well.
That's right,
but it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. I mean, just in that one, when you go back to you know, Salazno anyway, in that instance there, I mean, I don't know what he was waiting for. The one prior to this one that we just saw, when Harry Kewell was able to cut that ball across the face of the goal. I mean, if you're a striker, you've just come on, you've really got to get to the ball. You've got to attack that ball as well, and we just didn't see that. And it's just unfortunate, especially when your subs come on, that they don't show any sort of urgency. And they got what they deserved in the end.
Bozza, did Carlos Hernandez get what he deserved? He'll miss the Sydney game next week.
No, I don't believe he deserved to get sent off for that tackle. It's as simple as that. He went in and he got the ball.
Now this is the first yellow.
Yeah, okay, first yellow, fair enough. Yeah, no problem with that whatsoever.
Remember at the time the Melbourne bench were like, well, he hopped over it. There was no contact, really.
No, we saw a tackle right at that place by the boy Sainsbury from Central Coast who got sent off, that's fine. But that one, there's no problem with that whatsoever, considering the conditions as well, the slippery pitch.
Even though he collects him he did get the ball. No doubt about that.
He got the ball, it was only just his momentum after. There's no way, Jose, that should have been sent off. Simple as that.
Fair enough. A couple of other, and Zappa's mentioned it with Harry Kewell as well, There's a reaction from Carlos, so he misses the Sydney game. Roots, what about some of the reactions of the players who were substituted tonight in Matthew Kemp and also Archie Thompson, both straight down the tunnel? Matthew Kemp with a bit more anger, it looked like.
I'll say this in Kempy's defence, Matthew Kemp's defence, that it has happened, and I've personally been involved in that, and I've acted pretty much in the same sort of way. Now, it's easy to talk in hindsight and when you've come yourself down, but you've got to learn from your mistakes. More importantly, it's not really the way you should be treating your manager, your players, and your club as well. And I learnt that the hard way too. But I think he'll look back to that, and Archie maybe. I mean, Archie did come back onto the bench as well and got his jacket on and he suited himself. But I think in retrospect, I think Kempy will, see that and he'll see the pictures, I'm sure, and he'll think, well, I've made a big mistake. Hopefully, it doesn't create any sort of problems internally. We saw Harry Kewell come on after the game and say, look, it's part of the game. You get taken off. Would be at the 5th minute or the 90th minute. You've got to take it on the chin, and the manager's the manager. There's only one boss.
Foxfield time, Roots, where did it all go to pot for Melbourne tonight, especially in that first half? Yeah, I mentioned this at half time, and I thought the coaching staff at Newcastle did, I thought they must have, it was a ploy of theirs and the tactic, and it worked wonders. And if we have a look at Foxfield, it's what we're talking about. It's Ruben Zatkovic, and the fact that they were able to attack the left-hand side of Melbourne Victory, in particular Matthew Kemp. You see, first of all, the movement of Ryan Griffiths there, as he comes inside, gets away from his marker. Highlighted there is Jacob Pepper, the young guy, ended up scoring the goal. A give and go, wheelhouse. It's all about mobility as well with the way Newcastle are playing too, and they're doing really, really well. The second goal here, you see how many players are behind the ball when they win possession of it, and it's Nikolai Topor-Stanley who then plays the ball out. And from then on, it's guys just charging forward, moving and getting enough bodies in that forward position. A lot of space out here on the right-hand side. You can see smart here again by Griffiths. Sees pictures nice and early. Waits for the run of Zatkovic. Poor defending by Matthew Kemp. That allows Ruben Zatkovic getting behind. And again, it's that young man, Jacob Pepper, who's made a massive run, a good 60 to 70 metre run to get himself in the box. And that's what I'm talking about, urgency. We didn't see that from Melbourne